get those tickets out? Let's play. That first number up is 7, followed by 43. Tonight we're going to meet Anthony Colligan, who won $2 million playing Powerball. Congratulations, Anthony. Now for the rest of those numbers, we've got 56. The number 4, rounding it out tonight with 2.
Jack Whittaker won how much money on what day?
He won $314 million. And it was on Christmas Day, 2002. He decided to take a one-time payout of about $113 million after taxes.
You say that you are blessed. This was not luck. You have already decided what you're going to do with the money. The first thing, you're going to pay your tithes to your church.
Yes.
How much is that going to be?
About 13 million.
Uh-huh. You know, you're like that story in the Bible in the New Testament on the man who gave his servants the talents.
Yes.
And that he gave one 5 talents and it multiplied into 10. Obviously, you're doing God's work with all this money.
Yes, I am. I'm helping a lot of people, and I plan to help a lot more.
Initially, after Jack won, his good impulses were on display, saying he was going to give money away to churches, give money to individuals. It turned out that he started acting on some of his bad impulses quickly too, and he started going to local strip club, and at one point, and he was taking large amounts of cash into this local strip club, and at one point he was robbed in the strip club.
So what was the first thing he did with his money?
The first thing he did was tithe to 3 churches and set up a foundation, and on a more quiet track, he also started celebrating in some sort of nefarious ways with the money. Within 2 or 3 days after winning, he went into a strip club in Cross Lanes, West Virginia, the Pink Pony, and put $50,000 down on the bar. Well, people were not used to seeing that kind of money down on the counter, and the managers were worried that that cash would attract trouble. And eventually it did. Jack and an occasional entourage would go back over the months to the Pink Pony, and they would also go to places like the Tri-State racetrack and gambling. And sort of wherever he went, he attracted attention. He attracted attention of young women, and he started to get into trouble. In March of 2003, he, according to some women who've since sued him, he sexually harassed some attendants at the racetrack. He just got too big for his britches, they would say in West Virginia, and sort of was rough with these female attendants. At the Pink Pony, the people who worked there said they saw a change in him where he went from being very celebratory about getting the money to being very domineering. You're gonna do what I say because I have all this money.
In this picture that opens the article, you have Jack Whittaker, and then off to the left is his wife. Her name again?
Jewel.
Are they still married?
I believe they're still married, but they're not together.
And this has happened since the money?
Yes. That was one of the real tragedies in this story. By all accounts, they had a very strong marriage. Jack and Jewel were childhood sweethearts. They came from poor families in the hills, and they were different. He was always a character, dressed in black like Johnny Cash, big black cowboy hat, kind of a showy fellow. Jewel was very quiet, very strong religious beliefs, went to church, prayed, dealt with her family, small number of friends, was not an outgoing person. They responded to the win in very different ways. From the start, Jack started staying out late at night, which was something new, and it broke Jewel's heart when he wouldn't come home. And she has since said that winning the Powerball ruined their lives, and that if she had it to do over again, she would have ripped up the ticket instead of collecting the winnings.
I mentioned the granddaughter. That's the next part of this story. What was her name?
Brandy Bragg.
And what's the story?
Well, that's, the most heartbreaking strain of this story.
When you first won the lottery, because Brandy was so much the apple of your eye, did you give her money?
I gave her about $2,000 a week.
And how old was she?
She was 17.
So you're giving a child, a teenager, $2,000 a week.
She was very responsible with her money.
You bought her a number of cars, didn't you?
Yes,
How many?
4.
So it's a 17-year-old with 4 cars. Again, was that altogether sensible?
She can only drive one at a time. To a young kid, cars mean a lot. And I'm very proud that she had 4 cars.
Surrounded by the toys and trappings of wealth, Brandy started to attract new friends, including her first serious boyfriend, Jesse Tribble, whom she knew from grade school. But Tribble's father was unhappy about the relationship.
I know firsthand she bought things for Jesse. I was real upset about it. He come in here in a Michael Jordan basketball jersey. It was $200 and some at Sport Mart. Come walking in here, he had on a gold necklace. He had on a pair of tennis shoes for probably $180.
The spending sprees continued, and the couple started indulging serious drugs. Soon, they were hooked.
I think Jack maybe was trying to shower her with gifts and love and whatever, and it was almost like she was destroying herself with it.
She told me one time, she said, "Papa, all I care about is drugs." It broke my heart. We did everything that we thought humanly possible to keep her away from the drug dealers, to keep her off drugs, to keep her occupied.
Jack checked Brandy into 3 drug addiction treatment programs, but they didn't work. Brandy had become a hardcore drug user.
Brandy's demeanor was that, there's nothing wrong with me. You can't help me. And she says that all she really wants to do is take drugs. She doesn't want to be in charge of the money. She doesn't want to inherit the money. She just looking for her next drugs.
Tribble's father also tried repeatedly to guide his son away from Brandy and her money to get him off the drugs.
He had been in and out of the probation because of the being caught with some drugs, and so we were battling that, and he was actually coming around and doing well.
Mr. Tribble tried from the start to get his son away from Brandy because he saw these young men were being arrested around her. He saw that his son was using drugs and that he felt like he would never get his son off drugs as long as he had a ready supply of cash, which he did when he ran with Brandy. Brandy had thousands of dollars every day, and so the boys around her, she was generous with them. They had thousands of dollars to spend every day. And Mr. Tribble felt like at one point he'd succeeded. He tried tough love, he tried turning his son into the police. He struggled in all the ways you think a parent would struggle to get his son away from a bad situation. He thought he'd succeeded when Brandy dumped Jesse Joe. Jesse Joe came home, he finished high school and summer school. He was working in his dad's shop, and then one day he didn't show up. And unbeknownst to his dad, he had recently gone back to Brandy, and Jesse Joe was found dead in Jack Whittaker's house of an apparent drug overdose. Then within a matter of weeks, she was dead of an apparent overdose, and she was found abandoned in the back of a house that I had visited, looking for her at one point and looking for friends of hers.
Jack Whittaker believes that the blessing of his Powerball win had become a curse upon his family.
My granddaughter's dead, probably because of the money.
You really believe that?
I really believe that. I know I really had my arms around her and protected her before I won the lottery. And once I won the lottery, there wasn't enough of me to get my arms around everything, to hold it and protect it. She was the shining star in my life. She was what it was all about for me from the day she was born. It was all about providing and protecting and taking care of her.
And Jack Whittaker, since all this has happened, has basically blamed other people. He's blamed drug dealers for corrupting his grandchild. He's blamed newspaper reporters for writing about some of the less savory things he did with his money. And I don't know what he does at 2 a.m. because he hasn't talked to me, but at least publicly he has not taken responsibility for any of this. You know, I've sort of heard over the years that winning the lottery is not necessarily all good. it's a mixed experience, but I think everybody has the fantasy that they'd know how to do it right. If they won the lottery, they would remain stable and they wouldn't blow up their lives.